Alrighty, show last night, show this morning, but sometimes that's what days off are for, and summer holidays and that sort of thing. Lots of excitement in the air. And today I am joined by Jim Lang, host of the Jim Lang Show, based out of Ontario, Canada. And so thanks, Jim, for wanting to come on and share your story. I really do appreciate it. It's good to have you on.
The pleasure is mine, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. You're a man of many hats. I mean, I remember watching you on Sportsnet, but you're also an author and um, yeah, just kind of yeah. There's lots of things that you have done. Voice of the Argos. But again, I'll let you tell that story. You were born in France, but how did you kind of get into the broadcasting industry? And we can talk about some of these books.
Yeah, my father was in the Royal Canadian Air Force. As you mentioned,
hmm
I was born in France. My dad was posted there in Europe in the 60s, and we moved around a lot.
hmm
And along the way, I got into radio in the 80s, going to radio school in Ontario at Humber College. And at the time when I graduated, there was no sports radio in Canada, and sports television was in its infancy. So what happened is local radio and TV stations had a sports department, but often uh, as an announcer, you either did your announcing or news and you added sports onto it, even though it's something I always wanted to do, Steve.
hmm
And so it took time working through the business, learning how to do the job and then working at different media outlets till I had an opportunity. And along the way, I got into All Sports Radio. Then I was reporting um, NHL, CFL, different sports for sports radio. And then I was a sports director at a radio station in Toronto. And then eventually made my way to Sportsnet. So I graduated in 87, and by 2001, I was at Sportsnet.
Right on. And Sportsnet was just kind of in its beginnings, birthed in
Yes.
1998. So I mean, there are some the originals there with the Mike Toast and that sort of thing. So how was it kind of with Sportsnet? Because TSN had been around since 1984, getting that
Well, we
track.
were definitely the black sheep of the Canadian sports media family. We were a little more. See, the TSN came from the CBC school, CTV, Johnny Esau, Ernie Affiganis, Don Whitman, very buttoned down, very formal,
Right.
very hands folded. Here's the information. Sportsnet was a little different in our presentation of sports highlights of sports. Now the play-by-play announcers, they took it very seriously, but I think we as hosts, as anchors, we approached it a little bit differently.
hmm
When you're reporting, you're doing a story. That's what you do. But I think we were a little different that way. When I started in 2001, I was heading up a thing called Sportsnet Radio, and we were feeding sports updates to a series of radio stations across the province. And then along the way, I became the backup for the Sportsnet AM show. And at that time, they did Sportsnet AM live. So you had to be there at 4 a.m. and it went live at 6 a.m. And what happened was, Steve, is the evening anchors would fill in and they told management, like, I physically can't do this
Yeah.
because their whole life had been get to work at 6 or 7 and then go home at 2 or 3. And so for them to be at work for 4 and on the air at 6, like it physically hurt them
Yeah.
because it was such a like their circadian rhythm, like they couldn't do the. And they knew I had done some OUA at Canadian University sports, football and hockey for CHTV in Hamilton, and
hmm
I get up like the crack of stupid every day anyway. So they had me do a screen test, and they had me fill in first for Damon Goddard and then Hazel May in the morning show. And then by filling in for them in the morning show, what happened is they're always short staffed. They're like, Jim, we need you to do like Friday night because someone's off. We need you to cover a lacrosse game. So, and that way you start building your resume. And
Right.
like I tell all young broadcasters, you know, you say yes to everything. There's no such thing as saying no. So say yes to everything because you never know what's going to lead to.
Yeah. Definitely. I remember talking to Elliot Freeman at the
Yeah.
2006 Grey Cup, and he worked for the Fan 590 just doing tapes. And then he was
Yeah.
asked to do cover tennis. And this is coming secondhand from a guy I was in broadcasting school with, but he goes, I don't like tennis, but I'm going to do it. And the rest is history, right?
Well, Elliot Friedman is among the best this country's ever produced because of his attitude and work ethic.
Yeah.
He comes at it every day, no matter what his assignment is. He's got a good attitude and he puts forth a good work ethic, Steve.
Mhm.
And I think any broadcaster, young or old, at any level, can learn from someone like Elliot Friedman because of how they approach. There's a reason why he's been in Hockey Night at the level he is for as long as he has. It doesn't happen by accident.
No, it's there's definitely hard work, right? It's more than the camera time and all, there's research involved and all of that, right? So as far as broadcasting and that sort of thing, what were some of maybe the best sports moments that you have covered?
Steve, I've been very blessed. I've been very lucky.
Hmm.
I've covered Stanley Cups, Grey Cups, Super Bowls, uh, Scotty's Tournament of Hearts. But even, I mean, even that, it's hard to pick one because I enjoy all the events I end up covering because I find I learn something
Right.
each event, whether it's the venue, the city it's held in, the fans there.
Hmm.
It's difficult to pick one over the other um, because they all have a unique story, and to this day, that is why live sports they're able to get the money for the rights, Steve, that they do. You saw Paramount Plus spent 7.7 billion, I believe, for 7 years of UFC because I mean, people will go, oh, I really don't want to watch that TV show. I really don't care. I watched the episode. I don't care. But if it's a big UFC bout, it's a big CFL game, it's a big hockey game, a big sporting event. Nobody knows what's going to happen, amateur, professional. So the odds are you're going to watch it.
Right.
And they all seem to take on a life of their own, where you're not sure the outcome, you're not sure the drama within the game, on the bench, on the sidelines. It's all different. Um, you know, it wasn't that long ago this season where I think it was Aaron Boone of the Yankees. He got into it with an umpire, and they got back and forth. And like you start that game, you're on the team, you're on the Yankees. You don't expect your manager basically to have an almost all out brawl with the umps during the game because it's the unpredictability of it. Like nobody knows, and I think that's the beauty of it. Like if you look at the Blue Jays, how they started the season, in mid-May, they're 2 games under 500. Since then, they have the best record in baseball. So at that point in mid-May, when they're 2 games under 500, and they're like, geez, will they even make the wild card? There's no one predicting that they would go on the run that they have.
Nope.
And I could go like year after year, sport after sport. The only thing I did know is, I'm proud Canadian. It's in my DNA. But no one was beating the Florida Panthers this year in the Stanley Cup Final. The way they were playing, the way Brad Marchand was playing, the goaltending they were getting. Um, but for the most part, you really don't know, and it's an unpredictable thing. Every event, a puck bounces the wrong way, bang, it's in the net. All of a sudden, you lose a game you should have won. A home run that does not home run because the outfielder just got his glove over the wall enough to steal it. Like that stuff happens in sports that just doesn't happen in other things that we watch now, and it's this thing that compels us,
Yeah.
and it's the ultimate script. I mean, everyone talks about. I don't really watch movies much anymore because I don't see any, they're all bad. I don't like it. But you never hear when I say I'm not going to watch Game 7 of the Cup Final or I'm not going to watch the Grey Cup or the Super Bowl because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. I mean, you go back with the Blue Jays 2015, the game five, the seventh inning. I mean, I was rewatching that on YouTube. I still can't believe those errors. Like that was insane. Absolutely
And it,
insane.
yeah, and Steve, think about that. So they had 6 weeks of spring training, 162 games of regular season. At that point, they're like 20 games deep into the postseason,
Hmm.
and the muscle memory and making plays and making the right plays and is pretty much dialed in as good as it's going to get. So at that point of the season, you don't expect that many errors to happen in that short of time because maybe in the first week of the regular season when they're still rusty, but at that point you're getting the best of the best. And you're like, how could you predict that? A catcher drops a ball on a throw from the outfield. All of a sudden, a run scores you don't expect. And that's, again,
Yeah.
that's why we watch. That's why you're like, can you believe that? The big putt, the 60-foot bending putt that you like Nick Taylor's putt to win the Canadian Open, that was from a different county. and he
Yeah, it
drains that
was.
putt to win the Canadian Open,
Yeah.
and the way he did it in such dramatic fashion, no one could have predicted it.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. And I mean, even the Cole Perfetti here in Manitoba with the 1.6, it's
Right.
I mean, are
Because
you kidding me?
at 10 seconds to go, it's
Yeah.
over.
It's
But at
over.
1.6, it's not over.
Right. It brought me back to Kawhi with 4.3. I mean, it's
Yep.
these sorts of you kind of after you kind of think, well, it was actually more scary after the fact than when you watched it.
No, it's like everyone's got a close call driving. And then afterwards your heart beats a bit. You're like, oh geez, that was close. Because
Hmm.
in the moment it happened so fast you don't realize it.
Yeah.
And it's almost as a sports fan, like, oh, we just had the winning basket with 4 seconds to go. Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, and that's as you say, that's why we keep watching, and it never gets old because whether it's the Carter, the Batista, or it's a consistent thing, right? So
Well, I mean, you're in Manitoba. I can remember vividly the '88 Grey Cup when Sean Salisbury was the quarterback of the Blue Bombers, and they were underdogs to the BC Lions.
hmm
And Mike Riley was the head coach, and they went into Ottawa and they played a near perfect game on both sides of the ball. Well,
hmm
actually, all three phases.
yeah,
And I got to tell you something. It's a Jamie Campbell story. So have you ever talked to Jamie Campbell?
I have talked to him
So
at the Polo Park Mall for about 10 minutes.
okay, so next time you see Jamie Campbell, ask him about the time he's at the Super Bowl. And he walked up to Sean Salisbury, who was with a bunch of ESPN people, and said, hey, Sean, I just want to ask you about the '88 Grey Cup because he covered it. He was working in Ottawa. And all the other ESPN guys were kind of looking at him, and Sean's eyes lit up because of that. And I brought that story up to Mike Riley. I was covering the Shrine Bowl when Jesse Lumsden from McMaster
Hmm
um, was going to be drafted in the NFL potentially. And I brought that up to Mike Riley, and his eyes lit up. And this time he's a well-established coach at the Oregon State Beavers. But that '88 Winnipeg Blue Bombers team and that Grey Cup victory, that's a special place in the hearts and minds of the coaches and players. And again, like no one thought going into that game, everyone's like, "Oh, the BC Lions are," but you just don't know.
Nope. Right. And that was the exact same thing that happened in 2019. Thought Saskatchewan was going to beat Winnipeg. Fajardo hits the post. Hamilton's 15-3, and Andrew Harris just says, "Put the team on me," and here we go.
Right. And it's amateur sports, the Olympics, these unexpected performances, these gutsy events that kind of stay with us, and that's the appeal of it.
Yeah.
That's the drama of it, Steve. And we can get cynical in today's day and age with the negative news cycle and the economy and that. And I don't know about you, but I sometimes I need a release,
Yeah.
and sometimes I need a break. And to this day, sports provides me that break where I can forget about everything and just hang out, watch it, and enjoy it. And then afterwards, I'll watch clips on YouTube and then oh, did you see that? That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I 100% agree. We all need that outlet because if we don't, we're just going to go nuts.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. It's good for the mental health. Mentors and role models in your life.
Oh wow. Well, my dad, God rest his soul, he was a role model, but mentors in the business. I was lucky enough to work with people like brother Jake Edwards, who at one time worked in Winnipeg at City FM, and Andy Frost, Winnipegger, oddly enough. Um, and just so many different people. Bob McKenzie, I've written a couple of books with him, and I've learned a lot working with him. Um, it, a lot of it when I was a young broadcaster, young sportscaster, it wasn't direct mentoring, Steve.
Yeah.
It was a mentoring by osmosis and observation. So I remember in September of '95, I covered my first Maple Leafs training camp. Pat Burns is the coach. And you have writers there that have been around since the 50s and 60s who covered the 67, Maple Leafs Stanley Cup and the 72 Summit Series. And they're the deans of sports journalists in the country. So as a young sportscaster, it's like the old saying, you show up, keep up, and shut up. So you show up, you're there, and you wait till they ask their questions and they're finished, and then you think, I'd like to ask this question. Then you kind of look and observe and wait, and then Mr. Burns or Coach Burns, and you asked the question, and I think it was like the third practice there. He goes, "That's a good question," and like it was like, "Oh, oh," but that's the kind of thing that you learn how the top people in the top of the game, Steve, how they approach what they do, how they approach their business, how they prepare. You know that they didn't ask the question that moment. So they the day before they were at leaf practice, thought up some questions and had an idea. So the next morning, when they get into a scrum with a Pat Burns or Scott Arniel or Paul Maurice, they know what they're about to ask. They have a story in mind.
Right.
They're prepared. They're not wasting the time of the coach and the players, and they're ready to work. And that's one of the big things you'll learn is when you're going into that situation, okay, you have to show that you are as prepared as they are as athletes. I mean, you are working to that level as a reporter and a journalist there. So you're not asking frivolous, stupid questions. You're asking questions related, okay, hey, this and that. And you can see that they see you're not wasting their time. So over time, they realize that you're there, you're professional, you're doing your job. Then they sort of relax and you get to know them more as people as well as coaches and athletes.
Yeah, I think there's something to that because the reason I was chuckling, that kind of reminds me of Super Bowl media day. It always used to be on the Tuesday, and it's like some of these
Yes.
questions, like really, like I know
Well,
TMZ's there, but like time out, like just ridiculous.
what happens, Steve, is only a quarter of the journalists on media day are sports/football journalists.
Hmm.
And the NFL, in their wisdom, thought, let's get crazy radio morning shows and bloggers and podcasts and entertainment shows, and that's content beyond the sports world. So they know within the narrow confines of the sports world and the NFL world, they are locked in. But now they're widening their appeal to all these other mediums and venues and genres and announcers and talent that wouldn't really don't care about sports or football. Now they're talking about Taylor Swift and dating and football and Tom Brady. And now it's become part of the vernacular pop culture beyond the X's and O's. So the hardcore football reporters are going to do a story about the quarterback and the coach and this and that, but they're doing all the stories and other stuff. But at the same time, that means the two teams and the league and the Super Bowls being covered at a wider audience and in multiple languages. Don't forget, you've got reporters from Europe, from Asia, from South America, like around the world on Super Bowl
Hmm.
media day. So
Yeah.
they have been covering the games, calling the games in their native language in their country, and then they're flown to the Super Bowl for Super Bowl week to provide content back in their language, back to their home country. So that's part of it as well. And I've done a few Super Bowl media days, and the whole thing is that's where you have to be as prepared as possible because all that stuff's going to happen around you. You can't stop it.
Right.
So when you have a chance, it's like, oh, hey, Steve Smith, you have to ask them a decent question to get a clip because you're going to need it because
Mhm.
that might be the only time you get to talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Which Super Bowls have you covered?
Uh, Super Bowl 40, 42, 43, 44, 45.
Okay, so 40, 42, the undefeated Patriots, and then the
Yes,
Giants.
I was there. I was
Yep.
there the whole week. That was the craziest media day in the history of media days. Um, that was a wild week in Arizona, and everyone thought the Patriots would win except for Michael Strahan and Eli Manning and the Giants. And at that point, Michael Strahan was towards the back end of his career, but a name and voice in the locker room of the Giants. But the one thing that people didn't realize yet is that in like Eli Manning's career is a study in contrast. In a week 10 game in Washington, he's okay. But all of a sudden, you're in a divisional playoff game and the weather is horrible and the wind's coming sideways and he can't miss. And
Yep.
Eli Manning that day could not miss. He was making throws, impossible throws. And it's more than the David Tyree helmet throw. He was just so dialed in that day. And it's a great example of an athlete elevating their game and their abilities and performance from what people think they can do on the biggest stage. And then he did it again a few years later, and it cemented Eli Manning's status. So Eli Manning, people, and that's where the big debate is whether or not he deserves to go to Canton for the Pro Football Hall of Fame because the regular season it's okay, it's good.
Okay, yeah.
but in the postseason, he had those two postseasons which are redonkulous, Steve. Like, I mean, in both postseasons, in both Super Bowls, he made all-time throws in the most clutch moments you could possibly imagine. So whether or not he gets to the Hall of Fame, I don't think he cares or the Giants care. But he's got two Super Bowl rings, and all his teammates have two rings because of him.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, the Mario Manningham catch in Indianapolis.
Yeah,
Kurt
yeah, it was
Warner's in that
crazy.
Hall of Fame, so I think he should be too. And
Again, that's why that's the beauty of these events, these sports. That's why so many people watch it. That's why an advertiser will spend $3 million on a 60-second commercial so that's in the game because my goodness, a moment like that could happen. And so what happened was that in Super Bowl 42, we were in Arizona in that incredible stadium. And midway through the fourth quarter, all the media, you're shuttled down and there's a big concrete walkway that goes out to the field. And they have TVs on either side of you. And the New York media was on the right side, the Boston media is on the left side, and we're the international media, Canada, Europe, South America, we're all kind of in the middle. And the Patriots had scored, and all the Boston media were kind of giving it to the New York media a bit. And then Eli Manning threw the game winning touchdown. And then the New York media turned, and I'm thinking, this is crazy, because there's a certain etiquette you're supposed to have. And then the Giants win, and like it's mayhem. Everyone runs on the field and stuff like that. But yeah, that was as far as atmosphere goes. It was, and just the drama leading into it. It was a pretty wild sporting event.
yeah, most definitely right. Ranks up Super Bowl three. Yeah, it's probably one of the best Super Bowls I've ever watched. I know it's low scoring, but just the drama of it and just that storyline of the Patriots could go 18-0. But I will just to kind of end off on that, I think, and you could disagree with me, but it's the game where they played the Patriots nose to nose on the Week 17 game.
Right. Yeah. And I think the Giants learned a lot about themselves, and plus the coaching staff had pretty fresh game film. So they had game film of the Patriots just before the end of the season.
Hmm.
So if it's week 2 or 3, the team and the play calling and the structure is going to be a little different than it is week 17. At week 17, you're not going to have a radical changeover how you play the game and your formations going into the postseason. You're pretty much that's if you know what I mean, that's your
Right.
team.
Yeah.
So that helped the Giants a lot as well.
No doubt. And the other thing too is that Coughlin was coaching for his job. They started 0-2, and
Yep.
yeah, it is storybook, honestly. And again, as we said, that's why we watch. Uh you as an author,
Yeah.
I was watching a bit, unreal. My day with the cup. I have been to a Stanley Cup party myself, with
Okay.
my wife's first cousin Eric Fair, who had the cup for the
Oh,
day.
right on.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking and like McCrimmon's there and stuff, but so you have these stories. So again, I should probably get a copy and read it. But just kind of how did we'll just kind of maybe talk about that book and whatever else. But I found that fascinating. You have these stories and these journeys.
Well, what happened, Steve, is that I was approached by my agent and the publisher, like, we would like to do a book on this topic. And I thought about like, oh, okay, hang on, let me check. So I assumed there was multiple books on the same topic
Hmm.
because it's the Stanley Cup. And in my research, I realized no one had written about this. No one had actually asked Eric Fair and all these guys, well, what was it like when you had your day with the cup and what was your day like and what happened and all that. So as we got into it, look, asking all the people in the book and Larry Robinson and Sidney Crosby and John Cooper and everyone, no one had asked them. Like that's one of those questions. No one asked them like, hey, what was it like with your day with the cup? What'd you do? Where'd you go? Who was with you? And it was quite fascinating. And it was really, I learned a lot through the keepers of the cup, what goes into it, what it means, the rules behind it, the unwritten rules about who can touch it, who can't touch it, who can drink out of it, who can't. And so it was a fascinating thing to work on. I really enjoyed it, and I really learned a lot about the families and background of the players and coaches I spoke to, because
Hmm.
that's kind of lost in the coverage, Steve. You don't really understand that the old saying takes a village to raise a child. There's a whole group of family and friends and extended family in the town, whether it's in Sweden or Manitoba or Minnesota that helped raise them to get to the point where they're in the NHL, let alone win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Yeah, that it's all those practices, and you see a bit of that emotion when they win the Stanley Cup, right? Like, every okay, you've got a few words, and you kind of keep going from there. But yeah, I mean, I think that's good because again, I think journeys and stories need to be told. And it was odd that nobody had ever covered that. So hats off to
And
you.
then the more I got into it, Steve, the more I liked it. And you realize, so Florida wins the cup. They have their parties in Fort Lauderdale and all that. And then Bill Zito, the GM, would send out an email,
Hmm.
CCing the keeper of the cup, Phil Pritchard, submit your dates. And so the GM, the coach, the captain, the star players get preferred dates. And then if you're the seventh defenseman or a fourth line forward, you don't get the preferred dates. And there's only so many weekends in the summer, and then they do it geographically. So they might go Minnesota, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and do all the players in that area. Then they'll take a break and do, say, BC, maybe down to California if there's people there.
Hmm.
Then they'll take a couple days break. Then they do the Ontario, Quebec swing. Then they do the Sweden, Finland swing. So they have to think about it, the logistics of it, traveling, the road case, protecting the trophy and everything that goes with it, and the itinerary and how the day is structured. They want to know before they show up, hey, Steve, what are you doing with the cup? Where are you going? Because there's certain places they won't allow the cup to go to.
Hmm.
And so like, okay, yeah, that's great. Okay. And usually they show up about 7:15 in the morning. And it's pretty much either at the player's house or the player's parents' house or family house. That starts the day. And then by midnight, they're usually in a private party function with family and friends. And usually about 15 minutes too, they go, hey, Steve, got 15 minutes left. And hey, Steve, 10, they give you a warning. And it's like, okay. And then at midnight, they take the white gloves, they pack up, say goodbye to the trophy, and then they lock up the case and they drive to the next location. And now a lot of the players said it was one of the saddest feelings to seeing that car drive away, not knowing if they'll ever have a day like that again.
Hmm. Yeah, because it is honestly, I mean, sometimes it's twice in a lifetime for some, but generally you just never know, right? Mike Gartner never won a cup. Brad
Well,
Park.
look at Wayne Gretzky. 20 years, won 4 cups, but he won all his cups before they had a cup tour. So he never had that Day with the Cup experience. Like that started in 95, Steve.
Yeah.
Look at Sidney Crosby, one of the greatest players of our generation, 3 cups.
Mhm.
It's so hard. It's so hard to win more than once. And that's why they try to squeeze every second of the day because you kind of have to because you never know whether or
Mhm.
not that day will ever happen again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, I know what kind of keeps you busy now with the Jim Lang show, but where do you kind of see yourself in the next 5 years?
Oh, I hope I'm still writing books. I mean, writing hockey books is a passion. I mean, I've done 8. I want to do a lot more.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've just whatever job comes along, multimedia, podcasting, radio. Like you said, I've done a lot of things. I'm open to doing a lot of things. I'm still passionate about what I do. Sorry, my left hand here is scratching my dog, so she doesn't come into my home studio. And but yeah, so you know, our daughter's now in their 20s, so we spend time helping them, getting them set on their path to life, and a pet owner, dogs, cats in our house, and yeah, like whatever. And I still play my beer league hockey with my boys every Wednesday, and so yeah, I just try to do whatever comes along, Steve, and talk to
Mhm.
nice people like you.
I appreciate that. Who do you have in the Super Bowl this year for February 8th?
I kind of like Baltimore to get over the hump and get there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a year they break through some things. In the NFC, I'm not sure. There is 3 or 4 teams that I could see. Now, everyone's darling is Detroit because of the great story they have there. I'm not convinced Detroit is going to go all the way. So, Baltimore, I'm more confident in the AFC. In the NFC, I'm still not sure.
Yeah, I mean Detroit lost both coordinators, and
Right.
Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn starting a Bible study with the New York Jets, which is good. but he's doing
No, but
his
that's a
thing.
big loss.
It's a
I
huge
mean,
loss.
that's going to take them a few weeks in the regular season before they're kind of over that. And that's so, so yeah, so that's the problem with pro sports is when you lose after all the expectation, you're never going to keep the team together.
Hmm.
And the Oilers found that out with the offer sheets after their first Stanley Cup run, and that's why if you're Tampa, if you're Florida, if you're a team that has a chance to win again, you sell out to do it, Steve, because you just don't know.
Nope.
I mean, there's been so many great sports teams that have won one Super Bowl, one Stanley Cup, one World Series, and just couldn't get back there again because there will be players retire, sign as free agents, trades, injuries, and just the mental drive to do it again is very difficult.
Well, and that's the thing. When Antopoulos sold the farm to get Tulowitzki and Price, everybody was like all up in arms. I'm like, just do it. Like, who cares? Nobody talks about that. Yeah,
I'm
okay.
looking. I live in Southern Ontario. Those 2 years, Steve, it was the early '90s, late '80s, early '90s all over again. I had not seen passion for the Jays like that in 20 years, and
Hmm.
now it's back right now. The way they're playing right now, what they've done. I'll give John Schneider credit. I wasn't sure about him. He's done a remarkable job the last 2 months. Credit where credit is due with his team. I love Addison Barger. I worry about their bullpen a little bit, but it's a fun baseball team, and who knows where they're going to go. But I'm getting as much enjoyment as watching the Yankees stumble as I am the Jays win.
I mean, yeah, the Yankees are 7 games up, another 6.5 out. I think Aaron Boone's going to get fired if they don't make the playoffs. Just saying.
Oh, I don't think he may not get his uniform off after the last game.
Yeah.
I mean, the Yankees, they like the amount of payroll, the amount of stardom, to be up that much, Steve, and then to sort of see it all flitter away and have the Jays basically slap you around every chance they get. And that was an historic sweep, the 4-game sweep at Rogers Center. So that's where, like, I know the New York fans and New York media were losing their minds
Yeah.
while that sweep was going on. And the Jays were, to their credit, they fed off of the Yankees, anxiety and their stress in that series.
Well, yeah, I mean they had so many errors, and then the Jays didn't have that letdown. Then they landed up
No,
sweeping. I think it was the Angels right after that.
yeah,
So it's like, okay, here we go, right? And again, reminiscent of 10 years ago, and I would agree.
absolutely.
I wasn't very with Schneider there. I wasn't quite sure, but he has seemed to right the ship.
Well, I mean,
It's
right now it's tough
fascinating.
to get a ticket. I mean, the passion is that such that even a midweek game, it's a tough ticket now because everyone's trying to. They're on the Jays bandwagon in a big way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I went out on Friday night and my one coworker goes, Steve, I'm not gonna come out with you tonight to watch the Dodgers. Well, how
Yeah.
come? He goes, I'm gonna save it for the playoffs. I'm like, okay. So,
Okay, I
here,
respect that.
yeah, here
I
here we
respect
go. I
that.
said it'll be Thanksgiving weekend, but here we go. Good, good. I kind of looked down at my notes, but I don't think I need.
Anything you want, Steve. I'm here for you. Ask any question you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, appreciate that. How much more time do you have?
I got a few more minutes, sure.
Okay. Where do you think the Leafs will be this year with the loss of Mitch Marner to Vegas?
Great question. Um, they lost him, but I part of me wonders, is it addition by subtraction? By taking his money and spreading it around to other players that they have traded for and signed in the offseason, will it make them a better team? There's no question that William Nylander's emerged as an elite forward. So
Mhm.
they have an elite forward to complement Matthews and Nylander. And now they have some complementary pieces down the middle and on the blue line. As far as I'm concerned, it's not so much the loss of Nylander, it's the health of the goaltending going into the postseason. If Stolars can be healthy in the playoffs, not take a headshot like that happened in the Florida series, I'm excited to see what the Leafs will do.
Mhm.
And, staying healthy during the postseason, getting that consistent goaltending. I mean, look how good Bobrovsky was. Those two, if you look at Vasilevsky and the two in Tampa, Bobrovsky and the two in Florida, that's why they win. Whether it's in the 1960s or right now in 2025, goaltending in 4 7 game playoff series is so vital. You need consistently good goaltending to go deep. And if the Leafs can get that, they could go far.
Well, that's it, right? And they had about that 5 to 7 minute lapse in that game three versus Florida, and they lost that
Look at
game in
Hellebuck.
overtime.
Hellebuck had one of the great seasons of a goalie in the last decade in the regular season.
Hmm.
But in the postseason, it was up and down. Now, if Hellebuck is regular season Hellebuck in the postseason, who knows how far the Jets could have gone?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Sorry, my phone was ringing here.
That's a fight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I was at game one of the second round versus Dallas, and I'm like, I remember walking back to the car, and I'm like, well, now they got to win a game on the road, and they never did, and um, it's it, the margins are so small.
But Steve, and I'm glad you brought that up. The margins now in pro sports and in the NHL are razor thin. A bad goal that mentally deflates a team. A guy gets hurt at the wrong time. Like there
Yeah.
is no margin for error. There is no boneheaded plays. All that's out where we don't have time because the difference between you and the team that beat you to go to the next round is paper thin.
Hmm.
So it's fair or not. Like you need Hellebuck to be Hellebuck of January, February, in April or May. If Hellebuck is like that in the postseason, Winnipeg is a scary team.
Hmm. Do you think the addition of Jonathan Taves helps?
It couldn't hurt. I'm interested to see how he performs after his time off. I mean, his resume and character is pretty much cemented in stone. We know what he's like, but professional hockey, NHL hockey at that level, to be off that long, it's going to be a challenge because the speed it's not getting slower, Steve, and the talent coming through the draft and coming up through the system. There's there's not many slow skaters anymore that can survive in the NHL. Everything's done at high tempo, high speed. So if his foot speed's there, he's got good edges. He can still keep up with the play. His hockey sense, his hockey IQ. I think Jonathan Toews is it's a great addition for the Jets, a great presence for the Jets because of his background and his resume. But if physically, if he's there and he can keep up with the play and keep up with the stars, it could be a real diamond in the rough for the Winnipeg Jets. It could be turned out to be a great move.
Yep, I totally agree. And again, my expectation is he's not going to be the World Juniors of 2007, scoring the three shootout goals and that sort of thing. He's going to be there for leadership and maybe a third or second line center.
I know it seems like a little thing, Steve, but the fact that he went above and beyond, explaining like, "Hey, I grew up in Manitoba. I'm a Winnipeg guy. I'm a Manitoba guy." So he's not looking to play there and go to California or Florida, Texas. Like he wants to be there.
Yeah.
And I think for any sports franchise, no matter where you're located, to have players of that caliber who want to be there, who are not and mentally always thinking I'm 1 foot out the door, that want to be in that location, no matter what city it is, that's a big thing. That helps. It helps the mindset of the team and people around the league. Like, oh, Taves, he really likes Winnipeg. You're like, oh, okay. Maybe people think differently about it if he's there, they have success, and he's like, I mean, they don't live in a vacuum. They're texting everyone as well. Like, what's Winnipeg like? Great, love it. Great city,
Yeah.
great fans, great arena. That does something.
Right, absolutely right. Good food at the Shark Club, good sights at the Forks. I kid a bit, but it's
They
I
got
don't.
Earls. You got Earls in Winnipeg. What's
We
it
got
not like?
Yeah, I know. It's on the other side of the street now, but I kind of equate it to Regina. And Regina 30 years ago, not much to do. You go to Regina now, there's tons to do, and there's lots to do in Winnipeg.
Absolutely.
You can go to the Flying Squirrel. I mean, that wasn't there.
Any place playing the Flying Squirrels okay by me.
Yeah. Bomber games are more exciting than ever before. The tailgates
Yeah.
are awesome. I mean, it's there's lots to do, so there's no worry.
No, I think Lake of Bays is not that far. Like Winnipeg's not that far. I mean, it's beautiful country out there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And
And they have the world's largest Coca-Cola can at Portage La Prairie. I have a photo with it. It's awesome.
that they do. And then we have a very nice hockey rink here in Steinbach. in the event center that's going to host the Grand Slam of curling in January.
Oh, cool. Oh,
So
right on.
I can't believe it. I know somebody that bought 2 tickets already, so for the entire
Good.
week, and I mean that's a good thing for this community of Steinbach, no question.
Absolutely.
Good, good. Um, was there anything else you wanted to cover here, Jim? I really, again, do appreciate you coming on. Always want to watch my time and that sort of thing, but
No,
this has been awesome.
I mean, coming up the next few years, we have, hockey back at the Olympics, the
Hmm.
World Cup of Soccer in Toronto and Vancouver, um, lots of stuff happening. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens over the next few years.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely, right. And yeah, you talk with the soccer, they got in a few years ago, first time since '86, and that narrative has started to change. So there's some exciting stuff happening in
Absolutely.
sports and
Yeah.
in Canada in general, right? Amateur level, professional. Summer McIntosh recently. I
Oh
mean,
my goodness. Can you believe how good, like, she's still a teenager. She's crushing it. Like, she's
uh,
so good.
so good. And then last week in Montreal with tennis, these kids are 18. Like I feel so old.
What gets me is when you see Summer McIntosh, the highlight, she's touching the wall, and the other swimmers aren't even in the camera shot. They have to
Mhm.
pan back after
Yeah,
she touches because she's so far ahead.
it's crazy. Yeah, it's as I say, they don't make kids like they used to.
No, no.
What I mean by that, they just seem to do things that I never used to. But
Well, I mean, if you listen to Victoria Mboko speak, like, she's so mature and so composed and so intelligent, beyond just a great athlete. Like, I certainly wasn't like that at 18, and I don't know many people are. So she represents Canada very, very well.
yeah, that she does. Absolutely. Well, Jim, this has been great, and again, thanks again for taking the time. I'll put this on
Pleasure.
I'll put this on my page, and feel free to share it yourself. And God bless.
Beauty. All the best, Steve. Take care.
Yeah,
Go
thank you.
Steinbach.